Have you been running Amazon ads but having a little bit of a time and a struggle in actually spending and making money? Or are you scaling your ads but going nowhere fast? Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Amazon ads, how you're losing money, and ways to stop it. So make sure you stay tuned. So it's about high time that we talked about Amazon ads again. Of course, if you've been following here since the relaunch of the podcast, you probably know I've talked a little bit about Amazon advertising before, but today I'm going to kind of cover something. It's a little bit of a problem I'm seeing inside the indie author community. They're utilizing the Amazon advertising platform, but they're throwing money into this and not seeing a return. And that's going to be the important thing, is if you're going to be running ads, you need to be seeing a return. But before we get into all this, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you in part by the DIY Publishing Course Unlimited. Get your hands on the most comprehensive coverage of self-publishing to date with over 355 videos and downloadable resources. You have a vast library of self-publishing resources to keep you on track and headed in the right direction. Visit DIYpublishing.biz/podcast and use the coupon code PODCAST for 10% off lifetime access to the DIY Publishing course. Again, that's DIYpublishing.biz/podcast and use that coupon code PODCAST to get 10% off lifetime access. All right, so here we are. Can you believe we're on episode 18 since the relaunch? Episode 18. So there's a ton of back catalog, and you can check every single one of these podcasts out on all of your favorite distribution platforms, including SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher. Geez, I'm forgetting all of them. Anchor. There's so many. So if it's a podcast platform, it's probably on there. So make sure you go back and review all of these past episodes before this, so that way you can kind of get up to speed on what's going on. So today we're talking about Amazon ads. And let's go ahead and discuss the usual suspects, the normal problems that we're seeing when it comes to Amazon ads, because people are just losing money hand and fist, which is kind of crazy, because I've said to people, Amazon advertising is the dead simple way to actually advertise your book, and it can be rather cost effective to the other alternatives in things like Google AdWords or Facebook ads, because Google and Facebook want your money, and they don't care what the outcome is. Amazon's a little bit different, and if you're very mindful in how you set up your ad campaigns, chances are pretty likely they won't burn through your budget like Facebook or Google would. The usual suspects include blindly following advice, consistent practice, spending money you can't stand to lose, and last but not least, being self-aware. Let me address some of these items, and then we're going to talk about some of the mistakes that I see and some, ways we can resolve those. Blindly following advice. I hear so much in Facebook groups. Like, I'm in quite a few of them, and I see newbies instructing newbies on how to run Amazon ads. Oh, well, you do it this way. I heard on such and such podcast that you do $500 per day and $1.25 per click. By the way, that was a real conversation. And there's just so much that I'm like, and I bite my tongue, because if nobody asks me, I'm not going to tell them. But since you're here listening to me right now, don't follow the advice of just some random Joe Schmo off the street. Make sure that there's some type of track record with this person. Thankfully, if you've been following me long enough, I've got a little bit of a track record, and I've actually interviewed quite a few guests, including one AMS ads expert in Marco Motino. Did 2 interviews over on YouTube. I highly recommend you go check it out. The guy is next level smart when it comes to that. The next thing is consistent practice. And I said this probably in the last 2 podcast episodes. The problem I see is too many people are trying to do things, but they're not being consistent about it. They're like, oh, I'm going to do ads for a week, and I'm going to expect to see some results. And then they don't see results, and they stop. Oh, it doesn't work. Amazon ads don't work. I used it. Oh, yeah? Well, how long did you do it? Yeah, I did it for a while. No, I mean, like, literally, how long did you do it? 1 week. Well, how much money did you put into it? $5. I'm like, well, of course you're not going to see a return. You didn't give it enough time, and you got to be consistent with it. And that leads me into spending money you can't stand to lose. So I've got some people that are certifiably insane. They're going into this whole venture and they're putting up way too much money up front. Here's the thing, and this is truth here, folks. Amazon, yeah, they will take your money, of course. But the thing is you run the ads. They will take your money for the ads, and you usually won't, usually you don't get paid until after those ads have been paid for. It's about another 60 days out. So there's a little bit of a delayed gratification. So when you go into Amazon advertising, if you don't have the money, do not use ads. Just going to say it again. Don't use ads if you don't have the money. And when you go into this brand new, don't pony up expenses you aren't willing to lose. So the next one's being self-aware. All right. Some of you folks, I know you're really proud of the publication that you put out. And you're like, yes, it's awesome. And you got maybe a few 5-star reviews, maybe 30 5-star reviews. And you decide, let's go ahead and do ads. And you don't see the results. So there's a little bit of a system. And by the way, this is general information. And I know that another person who echoes these sentiments is Dave Chesson of the Book Marketing Podcast, a.k.a. the Kindlepreneur, the guy who made Publisher Rocket, a.k.a. KDP Rocket. And there's impressions, there's clicks, and there's buys. Impressions is when your ad is served up to an audience. To be clear, when your ad is served up to an audience, they will scroll by it in some capacity online, whether by mobile or on, well, actually it'd be on desktop. And they will scroll by that. So impressions are put up on that in front of them. No, it doesn't mean. Impressions aren't if it's on the 10th page. It is on the page that they're flipping by. So it could be the 10th page, maybe it's the first page, maybe it's the second page, maybe it's the third page. It doesn't matter. If it's served up to them, it's considered an impression. And impressions are 100% free. So that's my favorite cost. But impressions don't necessarily pay the bills. So here's the issue. If you're getting impressions but no clicks, that means there's something wrong with your book. Now, we can put aside the fact of relevancy and keywords. That's going to be saved for another day. If you're getting impressions but no clicks, that means there's a cover dilemma. You need to finally sit back and go, what is going on with my book cover? And compare it to the others that are within your niche. It should not be like something that is completely far-fetched and way out from the other ones. I know you're kind of like, I want to stand out from the pack. Well, that's all well and good, but if a buying audience is used to purchasing a certain type of a book cover and you are completely different, you're the black sheep of everything in your niche, then chances are likely you might have a hit cover, okay? When I say hit, it means it's JoJo. It doesn't look good. So when you can fix that cover, the next issue we're going to have is impressions. We're getting the impressions. We're getting the clicks, but you're not getting any buys. This is a symptom of the actual book description. Your book description is just not selling people. They're not convinced. They saw your ad. They stopped. They clicked on it because they're like, oh, this looks kind of cool. And they look at it and there's not enough of a strong value proposition, or maybe you don't have a good enough hook to bring them in and want them to purchase it. Maybe you have too high of a price point. Maybe your price point's too low. Either way, in that book description, you're trying to convince them, to get them compelled enough to part ways with their hard-earned money. This is why you have to be self-aware when you go into these Amazon ads. And I think that just the last 5 minutes of me, what I'm sharing here, if you just implement this in your practices, you're going to get better results. And you have to look at each one of your assets, your books, not as your babies. You need to look at them like an employer does of employees. And you have to analyze and assess it from a third-party perspective, so that way you make the changes that are necessary to make a true impact and actually sell books through Amazon advertising. So here we go. Those are the usual suspects. Let's go into, actually, I have about 6 mistakes. 6 mistakes I see, and some, a little bit of commentary on each one of them. And you can jot this down or you can go back and listen to them later. Mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 comes down to the newbie mistake. And I kind of covered that already. Too many newbies are coming into this and they're flying blindly. There are a number of AMS aka Amazon Marketing Services, formerly known as that, Amazon Advertising now, they aren't doing any kind of courses. They're not getting any kind of education. I know that the Kindlepreneur, Dave Chesson, actually has a free AMS course. Feel free to go ahead, just Google it on up. AMS ads. I can probably give you a link, but at this point, I'm already recording and I'm just not going to take the time to go ahead and put it together. He's got a good one. I actually have a playlist over on YouTube that'll walk you through it with Marco Motino. There are so many things. If you're a newbie, before you start plunking down money, get at least a tenuous grasp on what you're doing. Don't just assume it functions just like Facebook ads or Google ads, because you're in for some real heartache if you believe it is. It's a lot different and probably a little bit more remedial compared to those other advertising platforms. But that doesn't necessarily make it easy to do, and it's going to probably take some time. So as a newbie, understand this. I've already given you the rules. Don't pony up the expenses unless you're ready to stand to lose it. In fact, I even say this, that start low. Your expectations and your budget. Yeah, you thought I was just going to say start low with budget. No, I want you to start with low with your expectations. The thing that you want to focus on is going to be actually learning as you're doing ads. So as a general rule of thumb, what I just say is if you got about $1 per day to spend, just $1, because Amazon will allow this, $1 per day, and put the cost per click right about 10, no more than 15 cents. And if you're feeling extra frugal, put it at 8 cents. And I know some of people out there, the experts, like, oh, they're going to get all cringy and like, you shouldn't go that low. You'll never get any impressions. That's okay. We're going to go for the low-hanging fruit and to just try to learn the system of using Amazon ads. And if we get a victory, if we get a sale, all the better. But it's just trying to understand the system and identifying winners. Mistake number 2, trying to bid too high. Okay, so the auction, as it's called, a lot of people assume auction, kind of like, you got like the auctions to where you have like the bidder, it's nothing like that. Okay, it's similar in its principle, but it's a lot more detailed. It's not just that you're going, okay, you have the keywords, you set your cost per click, let's say 10 cents. You would assume that if, say, for instance, somebody else came along and was like 15 cents, and somebody else came along and was like 20 cents, and someone said 25 cents, that it's going to go to the highest bidder. No, that's not true, actually. It functions more on the Amazon algorithm based on relevancy of your title. I've talked about relevancy so much, and relevancy comes down to how many book sales is your book going to have? Is there any kind of social metrics involved? Is there any kind of activity there? How old is the title? There's so many things that go into relevancy that at the end of the day, what Amazon's looking when it comes to auctioning the keywords, they're not giving it to the highest bidder per se. They're giving it to the person with the most relevance because they want sales. That's ultimately what they want. So if they can get somebody to get an ad and click on that and purchase, they're happy. You're happy. Everyone's happy. So they're going to look at what is the most relevant. Now, let's just say someone's neck and neck for relevancy, random reason, they're neck and neck. Then it's probably going to go to the highest bidder. But in most instances, it goes to the most relevant. So the proven track record. So instead of trying to shoot your bids really high and start an all-out fist fight for people over a keyword, might I recommend that you start low, and especially if you're new to things, figure out the keywords that are winning for your title and double down on those. Use those keywords instead of going after these ones like you can pick fitness and do it for like 75 cents cost per click. That's a little bit high. It's going to take away from your bottom line. I'd rather go ahead and choose the low-hanging fruit that's going to cost way less and I profit way more. Mistake number 3, not running manual keyword ads. Yeah, I see a lot of people using the automated ones. And hey, there is some pluses to the automated campaigns. And if you're getting success with one automated campaign, don't let me stop you. I might recommend, though, instead of giving Amazon the steering wheel and automation, you take the power in your hands and you select You're allowed up to 1,000 keywords in a manual keyword ad campaign. Get those 1,000 words in that dash. Use all of it up. Make sure, of course, it's relevant. And I'm going to talk just a little bit here more about how you're going to get those keywords. So let's not get too far ahead. But I just say that if you want some real measurable results, use manual keyword ads. Don't be so nervous about it. Maybe your first campaigns aren't going to be the greatest, but that's okay. When you get automated, all you're doing is allowing Amazon to kind of like, here's a few keywords inside your dashboard, and this is where you're categorized. We'll go ahead and use these keywords. Yeah, that's all well and good, but again, you're allowing them to spend your money. And one of the worst things about automated versus manual, automated keyword ads, you can't pause a poor performing keyword in automated ads. In manual ads, if you've got a poor performing keyword, let's just say, for instance, you're getting like 10, 20 clicks with no single buy, bye-bye. I go ahead and pause that keyword, deuces, you dead to me. Whereas with automation, it don't matter. They're going to keep pushing forward. 20 clicks, 30 clicks, 40 clicks, 50 clicks on a specific keyword that is a broad match of some sort and has no relevancy. You would like, oh, well, you don't have a choice. You're just going to have to keep pushing forward and hope for the best. And I don't know about you, I don't like to rely on hope. Mistake number 4. Here we go. Optimizing workflow. Ooh, you didn't see this one coming, did you? Optimizing workflow. I am going to tell you this. 99% of the people that I've consulted have a poor workflow. They are not optimizing everything. And what I mean is you actually need to get it to where you're spending less time trolling about and setting up ad campaigns and more time producing more content and getting it out there. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, Amazon is a beast that likes to be fed. You want to make sure that you keep feeding the beast. So here's my way that I'm going to tell you, okay? Keyword collection. That's going to be the very first one. I see some people that are going through incognito mode, or even worse yet, through regular mode to get their keywords, and they're just spending so much time, too much time, to putting together maybe 30 words. I said 1,000 keywords, folks. Load up all 1,000 keywords. And if you're just putting 30, you're just kind of hoping for the best. Not a good plan. All right, we need to get those 1,000 keyword slots. So how do we fill those? There's 2 methodologies. You can use Google Ads Keyword Planner, formerly known as Google AdWords, but now they're called Google Ads. But the Keyword Planner, you can actually access this if you actually have access to Google Ads. And you have to run a campaign of some sort. If you find yourself stuck into a position, you can always just Google up the information about how you can set up a Google Ads account. It didn't cost me a dime to set it up, but I know that there's some limitations these days because they expect for you to pony up some expenses and run an ad. I haven't run an ad easily in about a year or two, maybe, over on Google Ads, and I'm still able to access the Keyword Planner. That is one of the easiest ways to get 1,000 keywords. You can get one like within 5 minutes. You can get all 1,000 keywords if you want to. The issue is it going to be relevant to the Amazon platform? It remains to be seen. But worst case scenario, you scrape a bunch of keywords, you put it into an ad campaign. One of the keywords starts to get clicks, there's no buys. You can always just pause it and call it a day on that specific keyword. And you can start to scrape and figure out which ones are your high performing keywords. We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. And the next one here is, I'm going to tell you, save yourself some time. Again, this is all about workflow optimization. And I'm going to say, get the Publisher Rocket. You hear me say this all the time. You're like, oh, here we go. Here comes this shill again. No, it's not that I'm just shilling. I really do like Publisher Rocket. Okay. If you're like, I'm not going to buy it. No. That's okay. I want you to think about all the time you've spent trolling the internet, trying to find all of the keywords that you need to do. Is that really worth you being a penny pincher? Is that worth it? Okay. So I'm going to say how much it costs. It is $99 to get Publisher Rocket. Okay. $99. Let's just say over the next week, you spend, I don't know, let's say an hour minimum. We'll say an hour doing keyword selection. You spend an hour over the next week and you do this over the next year. That's 52 hours, all because you wanted to save $99. Does that make sense? That's less than minimum wage. Are you insane? No. Stop wasting time. I would really recommend that you just Find like a side hustle of some sort to cover it. Maybe sell a couple items that are in your house to get this. It's going to save you time, and also it's going to give you relevant keywords, and it's going to make life a lot easier. I will be full disclosure on this one. I use their AMS ads keyword every campaign. In fact, it's a rare occasion ever do I go over to Google Ads Keyword Planner. I just try to utilize Dave Cheson's tool. It's one of the best. So if you want to go take a look at that, dalelinks.com/PR. Again, that's dalelinks.com/PR, and that will be inside the notes inside the podcast here. So you can definitely take a look at that. And if you're like, no, I don't want to be going to just go look it up, Google it up, take a look at it for yourself. They got a 30-day money-back guarantee. $99, folks. Come on, seriously. Next is bookmarks. I see too many times. I get on with some clients and I'm like, okay, let's take a look at your Amazon advertising campaign. 5 minutes later, they've got the stinking thing open. You should have commonly visited places bookmarked in your browser so you get right to it. Every time that you're typing it in, every time that you're having to click on each little individual thing, it's eating away at your day. This isn't just about Amazon ads, folks. This is about everything in self-publishing. If you do not have a bookmark on each of the most commonly visited sites, you're wasting a lot of valuable time. And at the end of your life, are you going to be like, man, I'm glad I went and just gave myself a bunch of extra work? No, I don't want to be spending 2 minutes per day over the next 10 years trolling about on the internet. Again, I got to use trolling. I don't know why I'm using this, but nonetheless, you get the idea. I don't want to be spending wasteful time. Bookmark it, folks. And so that means if you go into your Amazon advertising campaigns, checking it on a daily basis, you want to make sure you've got that bookmark. It should be bookmarks. All you got to do is sign in and get on in there and get on with life. Mistake number 5, allowing it space. Okay, like a good relationship that's just starting out. Don't smother. Don't be like, I love you. I want to spend all my life with you, Amazon ads. No, stop it. Quit being weird. You're being clingy. Okay? Let your ad give it some room. And when I say this, and it sounds kind of funny, you got to allow it time to perform. You have to allow it some time to actually breathe a bit, like a good fine wine. Needs a little bit of oxygen in it, so aerates it just a little bit, and you're able to drink it and enjoy it. So when I say give it some time, 1 week is just not enough, folks. 2 weeks is a bare minimum. I say give it upwards of 4 weeks. That's why I say sometimes if you're brand new to this, go for $1 per day, $30 over the next month. Are you going to really miss that? Skip a couple iced lattes over at Starbucks. And don't supersize your meal next time you go out. I don't think that's the thing anyway. But you want to make sure you allow it some space. Allow it some time to breathe. Now, I'm not telling you to ignore it. You still go in and check it on a daily basis. Look at your keywords. See how they're performing. How many of them are getting impressions? Which ones aren't? Which ones are getting the clicks? And more importantly, pay attention to the ones that have the buys. If you see that impressions, clicks, and buys on a particular keyword, that means that relationship's ready to go on the front burner. That means it's time to go ahead and pay attention. And that's okay for you to go ahead and hold hands and give it some kisses. Oh, this is starting to get dark. So you get the idea. Mistake number 5. Allow your ad some space. Give it some breathing room. Give it some time. And it will definitely pay off. I've got one more mistake here for you folks. If you are enjoying the podcast, make sure you do me a favor. Join us every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Daytime. That's Universal Time, correlated -4 for upcoming podcast recordings and a behind-the-scenes look at the production process over at twitch.tv/self-publish. Again, that's twitch.tv/self-publish. You come on over there. It's kind of a nice casual, hangout, and we're able to do a little bit of a question and answer before and afterwards, and I'm able to kind of discuss with you. You can follow me there on Self-Publish on Twitch or subscribe for free with your Amazon Prime membership. It helps support the channel, and all the proceeds go back into actually providing even more great content in the coming months and weeks. Mistake number 6. This is the last one for today, and I know there's so many other ones, but this one, oh man. I see a lot of people that don't sift out the keywords. They put the 1,000 keywords, but they're not identifying. And these are exact words. I thought Marco Motino came up with this, but it's not actually. High performing keywords, aka HPKs. High performing keywords and identifying the low performing keywords. Now that's the one I made up, but the high performing keywords are going to be the ones that are getting you the goods. They're the ones that are getting you the impressions, the clicks, and the buys. And you're seeing that it's just an ATM. Every time you put this keyword up on a given campaign for a given book, it is winning big. So with these HPKs, you need to separate them. You need to get it to where you're putting them onto a separate spreadsheet. Now pay attention to the money gobblers, the low performing keywords. And I'm kind of flapping my hands here like Pac-Man eating up the pellets here. So we don't want to be having low performing keywords burning through our budget. Okay, there's going to come some times that there's a particular keyword. See, this is where I said it comes down to relevancy. Every now and then, it's also going to be something relevant to the customer that's visiting your ad. So sometimes maybe you have a book based on, I don't know, crunches, we'll say, for instance, and it just doesn't resonate with them. So they're not going to buy it. You might have had just the best ad copy in the world, and you might crush it with other keywords, but you need to identify these low performing keywords, eliminate them from future, keywords and ad campaigns you're going to be doing. The HPKs are the ones that I pay closest attention to. Here's a little bit of a bonus tip. You're going to want to make sure that you take those HPKs, put those into your publisher rocket, or if you're being a cheapskate and you can't afford it. I'm sorry, I shouldn't call people cheapskates just because they don't have money. That was terrible. Sorry. You're going to want to make sure that you take that and put it into your keyword research tool. So it could be Publisher Rocket, it could be Google AdWords Keyword Planner, whatever you use for getting your keywords. Take the HPK and build derivatives and deviations of those on an entire new 1,000 keywords, because by building the deviations and derivatives of that, what we're starting to do is identify the audience that's typically looking that up and different ways that they're saying your particular search term. Those ads are going to start to do better. And each time that you're releasing a new ad campaign, scrape the HPKs, pull them out, rinse and repeat, get those derivatives out, use them again, and again. You're going to find probably about the 10th, 12th ad iteration, it's going to be like an ATM. You're turning it on and it's firing off. It's going really good. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, Dale was right on this. But it's going to take some time, folks. And remember, don't be making the newbie mistake, okay? Take your time, ease into it, only spend what you're willing to lose. Don't bid too high at first. Bid what seems natural and also gets the buy, because there's going to be some keywords that are really cheap that will turn a really good profit. Try to get manual AdWord keywords. Try to get manual ads put together. My gosh, I'm getting all stumbled up on my words. Optimize your workflow. You're spending way too much time on all the stuff that doesn't move the needle. And allow your ads some space. And last but not least, identify those high-performing keywords. As we start to wrap things up today, folks, do me a huge favor. Subscribe to Self-Publishing with Dale podcast on Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. That would make my day, and I'll give you a virtual banana sticker. In the meantime and in between time, this has been Self-Publishing with Dale, and I will see you next week.